Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is Jennifer Olize with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jennifer.
Good morning, Dr. Abasi. Hello, Ayo.
Hello,
good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back from Bahamas. I hope you had a good time.
I had a good time.
Yes, it was work, obviously.
I had a working
sceneries.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.
So let's begin with what's trending. Now, we start with the story of the royal family, the annual Trooping the Colour ceremony, which celebrates the birthday of the reigning British monarch. Took place on June 15, 2024 at Horse Guards Parade in London. Although King Charles III's birthday is on November 14th, the ceremony is usually held in June. This year, the event marked the return of Catherine, Princess of Wales, to the public life after her cancer diagnosis and treatment. The Princess of Wales joined her family, including King Charles III, Queen Camilla, Prince William, and their children for the iconic event. The ceremony featured a military parade, a flypast, and a traditional balcony appearance by the royal family. This is beautiful news for the royal family. I mean, after the cancer treatments with Kate and the King, it's very beautiful to see Kate come out looking gracious as ever in her white dress. And, you know, the ceremony was very successful. Over to you, Ayo.
Okay, so first of all, happy birthday, even though it's his non-birthday, to the King. Like you mentioned earlier, Jennifer, this is a tradition that is part of the activities of marking the royals' birthday. So whether it was Queen Elizabeth, the second, and now her son, King Charles. So this was a very special one, Trooping the Colours, because, of course, of what has happened with the royal family in recent times. Key members of the royal family, the King himself, who's undergoing cancer treatment. But I think someone who's definitely stole the show was Princess Catherine, Princess of Wales, because, of course, she hasn't been seen in public in December. And I have to use this opportunity to say that some people are very vile. Like, some people are just mean and wicked. The stories, the kind of stories that were out there, people saying that she already died and they're just hiding the fact that she was dead. And it was an opportunity for her. Then there was an announcement last week that she was going to appear. I think she announced herself. She was going to appear on the balcony with the rest of the family. So, of course, a lot of attention was on her, and it was beautiful to see her looking regal, you know, up. She says she's not out of the woods yet and she's not fully back to royal duties, but it was good to see her, you know, and her children.
Absolutely.
Also, what's his name? The last born, the youngest son.
Louis,
yes. He's also a
Prince
character.
Louis.
Prince Louis, that he's the next Harry, you know, Prince Harry of their time. That he was just a child in himself, and it was great to see that. So, colourful ceremony, part of British royal tradition. The King's birthday is on the 14th of November, so he has two birthdays to celebrate. But it was great to see that, and just upholding, you know, British traditions.
Fantastic.
Well, she was seen in public at a public event 6 months ago. In March, that was when she disclosed that she had cancer. And that resulted in a lot of speculations about her health. The other speculation was about the status of the relationship between her and the Prince of Wales.
Oh, yes.
With people speculating that, you know, the marriage had hit the rocks and that Prince William had been seen, you know, in a scene or in moments of coquetry, you know. But now, appearance at the Trooping of the Colours, which also was attended with a lot of speculations, whether she would be there or she would not be there, until she issued a statement early June that indeed she will be there. So, two things. One, I think they've been able to put to rest in terms of body language. One report was saying, you know, the prince and princess of Wales, that their marriage is still going very strong.
Perfect.
The watching the royals is a big sport in Britain, and people were studying the body language. So from the analysis,
I was studying the body language.
From the body language, they are doing very well. Secondly, it looks like, you know, yes, she says she's not out of the woods yet, but at least she rode in the carriage with her family, and they saw her, you know, standing at the balcony. Even if she has not yet disclosed the exact nature of the cancer that she has. The third source of excitement for the public is addressing excitement over fashion, you know, which is also something that is a major sport, you know, with the media in Britain and perhaps elsewhere, like the United States. But what is important here is that after that issue with the photographs she supposedly edited, I mean, what we see is that, look, our public image has not really been affected by that, which she corrected anyway, something that people do ordinarily. And she remains very popular, you know, as the wife of the Prince of Wales and as the Princess of Wales in her, you know, former right. By the way, the trooping of colors was a very colorful ceremony.
It was indeed.
You know,
it was indeed.
Yes, the chain flags. It's the flags they are referring to as the colors.
Oh, yes.
And when they carry it, you know, it's such a colorful ceremony.
Beautiful. So let's take another story. So now, at least 19 pilgrims, most of them Jordanian and Iranian citizens, have died during the Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia due to intense heat. Jordan's foreign ministry confirmed that 19 of its nationals died after suffering sunstroke due to extreme heat wave, while 17 are still reported missing. Despite the history of deadly incidents, over 1.8 million pilgrims have participating in this year's Hajj, braving temperatures of up to 47 degrees. Authorities are providing climate-controlled areas and water distributions to mitigate the heat's effects. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has urged Nigerians to embrace the spirit of Eid by showing compassion and charity to their neighbors and fellow citizens. Speaking after observing Eid prayers at the Donan Barracks in Ikoyi, Lagos, the president emphasized the need to sacrifice to move the nation forward. President Tinubu called on Nigerians to foster a culture of true sacrifice and commitment to the country's prosperity. He encouraged citizens to extend a helping hand to one another, promoting national unity and growth. Let's take a look.
We have been told by the chief imam on the and we follow the path of sacrifice. Sacrifice being a very good citizen. It comes with responsibilities as citizens. What do you do as a citizen to be a very committed member of our society? That's sacrifice. Loving your country, loving your neighbors, share what we have with each other, and be thankful to Almighty God.
Well, I agree with the president on that, to be caring and, you know, to consider our neighbors and to be better citizens of the country. Over to you, Rifai.
So, my commiserations to those that were lost, you know, as regards to Hajj exercise in Saudi Arabia, about 17 of them, because we all know that, yes, there's an intense heat stroke in Saudi Arabia at this time of the year. And I'm also excited that the Saudi authorities have put some green zones in there where you can pretty much do some level of climate control. I mean, we all know the heat that is very pervasive in this season, but we also know the effect of global, you know, warming and the earth warming up at a time like this. Also, apart from this Jordanian pilgrim, I mean, we've also had cases of some Nigerians that went on Hajj, you know, also losing their life, which is a very sad one. And we just also will, you know, ask generously that more care needs to be taken for contingents of different nations of the world, you know, to be able to provide, you know, appropriate shielding from sunstrokes and things like that, especially I think when they go to the Kaaba or the place of the stoning, you know, of the devil, as it's called. So we must also take precautions in place, and we must also ensure, you know, that these pilgrims are kept intact. As regards to President Tinubu, yes, he hit all the right notes as regards sacrifice and patriotism. But the big question is, do leaders sacrifice? No, they don't sacrifice. Look at his administration. Look at what the New York Times wrote. It's evident that the country is bleeding, but most of the leaders are not ready to sacrifice. At a time like this, should President Tinubu be approving the building of the vice presidential house of 21 billion? Should he be doing a coastal road where when people cannot feed and are spending trillions of naira? Should they even, the National Assembly, be talking about, you know, the capacity, the willingness to be able to buy new presidential jets at this time when we keep saying we're broke? We keep taking loans, but does the money feed back to the people? Why can't the president say, okay, I want to take a haircut, take commercial airline? After President Ruto was shouted on, guess what? The last week when he was coming back from Switzerland, he flew a commercial Kenya airline plane back to the country because he saw people say they were not going to take it after he rented a very big plane to go to America and all of that. So why can't President Tinubu also fly Air Peace, even if it's a couple of times, or other Nigerian airlines? You know, to be able to show that you are in sync with the people. At a time where we are having conflict on minimum wage, the Guardian did a very investigative journalism work this morning, and they were talking about the fact that market reality, mark my words, or not luxury, ideal market reality rate for minimum wage is 104,000 naira. Based on the cost of food and things like that, when are they going to take a haircut? When are they going to sacrifice? They earn hardship allowance. The real people that are facing the hardship do not earn any hardship allowance. So the sacrifice and patriotism is preaching about should start with the leaders. They should be the ones to sacrifice for the suffering Nigerians, the Nigerians that are in pain. Look at all of them. They live very big, fat lives. They drive in very big SUVs. They lived a good life, while all of us are suffering. Their bellies are full, like Bob Marley will say, "The belly full and we hungry. An hungry man is an angry man." They should be the one to make the sacrifice, not us. We being power, we are poor, we don't have anything. They are the ones that have mansions. They are the ones that when they are crossing, they block the road for them. They are the ones that have big buildings in Ikoyi. They are the ones that have 3, 4, 5, 6 houses along Bodilon.
Now, the Nigerian government has hit back a recent report by the New York Times which described the country's economic situation as its worst in a generation. The report highlighted the struggles faced by many Nigerians amid rising inflation and food prices. However, the government has disputed the report's finding, saying that it presents a one-sided view of the situation. According to Bayo Ananuga, Special Advisor to the President Tinubu on Information and Strategy, the government inherited a dead economy from the previous administration. He claims that the previous government had failed to address the country's economic woes, including a fuel subsidy regime that had cost the country billions of dollars. Onanuga criticized the New York Times report as reflective of a long-standing pattern in which foreign media have reported on African countries in a predetermined, reductionist, derogatory, and denigrating manner. Now, this has been trending all over social media for a while, and this story is a very, very tough story because for me, Bayo Onanuga did not address any of the issues. He just covered the story of the New York Times. Regarding what the New York Times said, I want to hear your perspectives on if they were correct or incorrect.
Oh, see, Mr. Bayo Onanuga is doing his job. He's Special Advisor Information and Strategy. He's also himself a journalist, in addition to being a Special Advisor Information and Strategy. And he has the right of reply in his official capacity, or even the right to express his personal opinion. Now, one of the things that he was talking about is the menace of what is called parachute journalism. Parachute journalism, you know, is where you have these foreign newspapers or media houses having a mindset about African countries and their politics and affairs. So you have somebody sitting in New York whose main knowledge of Nigeria or any other African country is from what they pick on Google, where there is also a lot of misleading information. But in this particular case, this piece titled Nigeria's faces worst economic crisis in a generation. There is another, it's the byline. There are two persons within the byline. There is an Ismail Awal, who sounds like a Nigerian. So even if we say the first writer is a parachute journalist, can we say that the second person is not, familiar with the Nigerian situation? However, as I've said, what Mr. Ononuga has now done is to dismiss the piece, to say that it is jaundice, it is bias, it amounts to misrepresentation, and all of that. Well, typical things that you say when you are writing a rejoinder. But he then provided an excuse for the Tinubu administration. He said President Tinubu inherited a dead economy, that by the time he took over, the economy of Nigeria was in the doldrums, which is a statement that has been made by many other persons in that government, from Minister of Finance to Minister of Budget Planning and all those other people saying the same thing. But he then goes on later to offer an explanation of the reforms of the Tinubu administration. So he responded and used it to do PR. So he countered some of the things raised in that piece. However, there is nothing that Ruth McLean and Ismail Awal said in that piece that Nigerians have not said here. There is nothing in that piece that we have not said on this table. So it's just important for government officials to realize that this is the perception of the Tinubu administration, locally and also internationally. After all, we had on this program not too long ago, Mr. Lukman, who used to be at the top of the party, saying that the Tinubu government is a reactionary government and that the government doesn't think properly before it acts. That's a Nigerian. So it's for government to take this feedback from whatever direction these feedbacks come, and then try to act on them, to not just to manage perception, but also to make a difference in the lives of Nigerians. That's a part of it that is important to us. If you ask organized labor, they will agree with those New York Times journalists. So when people see a difference in their lives, in their circumstances, I'm sure they will have a different assessment.
So, with due respect, we play this game a lot. We've been in this business. We play this game a lot. When the West does not write something that favors us, we abuse them. This was the same administration that I remember when there was a contention of the election, and BBC wrote an article that favored this government. This was the same government that was parroting the BBC article. So we are so quick to call it parachute or helicopter journalism. But the truth is, the truth can't be hidden. And what are the rebuttals? And Jennifer, I subscribe to what you said. Mr. Ononuga had no clear rebuttal. With due respect, I've read his rejoinder here. And I will be reading from what he said. First rejoinder, when they were talking about the state of the economy and inflationary trend, he was talking about the fact that dollar is now below 1,500 and there are prospects that the Naira could regain and muscle its way and all of that between 1,100. What he didn't write here, he didn't say the truth. That from February they started defending, and when fuel finished in the defense, they left it to the whims and caprices. They were talking about 6.52 trillion in first quarters against a surplus, trade surplus. He didn't tell the truth that it was because of the fact that our economy has now been depressed because of dollar. So because of that, we are getting advantage in trade surplus. It's because actually our goods are dirt cheap now. Go to countries like Cotonou, Benin, that they spend CFA, they can buy because CFA is now 2-to-1. So he didn't tell the truth of the story. He fell into the line of danger of single story. He was telling about cholera that came to save the issue and all of that. But what he did not say was also the fact that Diageo leaving was taking also a lot of expertise. Diageo has been managing this brand for a while. Diageo was set up as a world conglomerate for alcoholic brands in 1997. And the expertise and the budgetary allocation for it, Tolerant that is just in the business of, consumer service and FMCG and all of that, it will take them a lot of time to get the expertise. Yeah. And if the economy was that viable, why would Diageo not continue? He also talked about food inflation. He said TBN donated 100 billion worth of fertilizers. What were the outcomes? And he didn't also tell the truth that these were the same fertilizers that they said, Emefiele chopped all the money then. But it was from that backlog, now they now shared. Again, it was not that it was a recent purchase and all of that. And he said, the governor said they were going to increase agricultural production. This was announced as a last year as part of the palliative. But nothing was done till now. That's why we're having the food inflation problem. So it too runs foul of that danger of a single story. So we are just giving a robust analysis now.
Well, so let's take our final story. A recent cholera outbreak in Lagos, Nigeria, has claimed 15 lives and have affected 350 people in 29 wards across multiple local government areas. The Lagos State Ministry of Health has confirmed the outbreak and is working to control the spread of the disease. According to the Commissioner of Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, the number of new cases is decreasing due to the ministry's interventions. The commissioner urged residents to remain cautious and take precautions to prevent the spread of cholera, especially during the Eid celebration. Okay, so cholera, we have to be careful. Poor sanitation, bad hygiene. I mean, it spreads fast. We all need to be careful so that this thing does not go viral. Yeah. Over to you, Ayo.
One thing I must give kudos to the Lagos State government for is that they've been able to demonstrate through its handling of pandemics like COVID, and then also, of course, with things like Ebola and all that, we've been able to contain that. But the unfortunate thing, like the World Health Organization says, is that any society, community, country that is having to grapple with cholera is an indicator of inequity and lack of social development. And that's an indictment. The fact that in 2024, even though it's a global, I mean, it happens in many countries, but the fact that we don't have access to sanitation, materials. Where do we have public toilets? It's an opportunity for us to talk about things like that. Public, places where you can wash your hands publicly. Sanitation in terms of our health and safety. The food and the drinks that people buy in the streets. To what extent do we have a regulatory agency that checks that it abides and it is proper in terms of food handling, safety? We don't have these things. But like has been said, let everyone be careful. Let's go back to our washing of hands as much as possible. When you go to the bathroom, let it be properly done. And when you finish, please wash your hands and be very careful. Any symptom you see, please go to visit the hospital. In public hospitals in Lagos, it's free. The treatment is free. So that has to be said as well.
Very quickly, it's not just Lagos. Dr. Jide Idris, who is the head of the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, reported that there were about 1,104 cases across Nigeria in 96 local governments in 30 states. 65 cases were confirmed. There were 30 deaths. So it's not just Lagos State, it's nationwide, 30 states. And some of the affected states, about 10 of them, including Cross River, Lagos, Kaduna, the head of NCDC provided a list. However, he said what is responsible for this is poor sanitation, poor hygiene. The question is, what is government doing about this? It is the same government of Nigeria at both national and subnational level that is not providing water, that is not providing access to public toilets, that is not providing access to health facilities. Nigeria is part of a World Health Organization program called WASH, water, sanitation, and hygiene. And access to sanitation and water is goal number 6 under Sustainable Development Goals. How far have we gone with that? This is a comment that we have not gone that far. What the Lagos State government is trying to do, which should be done in every state, is to create awareness. public health education. That's what the commissioner, the professor, talked about. But I think in addition to this, government must be alive to its responsibilities. People should take personal responsibility for their own hygiene as they did during COVID-19. And finally, I think it's also important that we introduce sanitary inspectors.
Yeah.
Correct.
In those days, they used to, in fact, they used to inspect, pots of soup, just to be sure that your pot of soup were, followed hygienic principles. Is it not true?
Well, that's very true. Well, that's all we have for what's trending
just
today.
Just a quick rejoinder. Actually, Ruth McLean, that wrote that article, that lives in Nigeria. She's the chief West African Bureau Chief.
Okay, so that's all we have for what's trending today. Thank you all for your perfect analysis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all on today's edition of The Morning Show.